Catch-all campaign is just kind of like a why not style campaign where we'll set up an auto and a manual that use super low bids. So we'll take the full product catalog, we'll group them into single ad groups. So we're consolidating them into a single ad group, I should say. So we're not splitting out products by product line. We're just mass consolidating them, putting them in a quick and easy campaign with a low bid. What we've found is even with ridiculously low bids, like 2 cents, 5 cents, 10 cents, even when we have auto campaigns running across the board and manual campaigns running across the board that have these same targets at higher bids and aren't out of budget, these catch-all campaigns still pick up volume, sometimes quite a bit, a surprising amount. So it ties back to that why not question. Why not launch them? If we can get impressions at such low bids and we can get clicks at super low CPCs, why wouldn't we set them up? Because it's going to produce a super low ACoS. So on the catch-all front, the way I'd structure these campaigns, let's start with the auto. I'd normally start around a 10-cent bid. I'd bid close match a little bit higher, complements a little bit lower, substitute somewhere in between the two. I'd put a hefty top of search percentage on the campaign. Since bids are so low, say 10 cents, we can afford to pay 20 cents for that top of search placement, or 25 cents even. So I would look at 100 to 150% top of search setting, but experiment with higher settings too. And then we'll typically use dynamic up and down bidding when we're running catch-all campaigns, just so we get that extra little boost when Amazon feels like our products are more likely to convert than the other ads at auction. So what that does is we have all of these campaign multipliers that are stacking on top of each other, but your CPC is still capped at an absolute max of like 40 cents on a 10-cent bid. Typically, cost per click still only come in around the 15-cent mark, so they're not substantially escalated, but ACoS, because of that low CPC, is astounding. Like anywhere from sub 1% in some cases to 10% would be the norm. So just really, really solid low ACoS across the board with that style campaign.
Yeah. So overall for the catch-all campaigns, ideally where these work the best is when you have multiple products within your account. And you can all you do is you just take every single product you have, put it in a single ad group, and then you can start with the auto campaigns like Matt's saying, use low bids, just do the bidding strategy that he just went through. But what we found is that for whatever reason, these tend to still get a lot of impressions. So for some reason with Amazon's algorithms, especially when you have a lot of products within these campaigns and ad groups, they tend to get a lot of impressions. And what's great is they get these impressions at a very low cost per click. So even if they don't convert as well, and many times they don't convert as well as like our typical campaign funnel structure, since you're paying so much less per click, we tend to see really good results in terms of ACoS or ROAS. And so, like Matt was saying, this is one where it's like, well, why not? It's super easy to set up. Auto campaign, throw all your products together, put low bids in, and it tends to just like get these impressions at a very low click while not cannibalizing like your typical campaign funnel structure too, because in general, you're bidding a lot more for that typical campaign funnel structure. So you can get a lot of good ideas in terms of search terms, but remember that all your products are grouped together too, and it doesn't split it out by product. It gives you search terms by ad group. So for this one specifically in the discoverability side, it's not as useful, but you can still look through your search term report for these campaigns and you'll have a decent idea based off of which product search terms are related to. So this is a great one. It's a fun, easy one. If you have a key takeaway from this podcast, if you're not running catch-all campaigns, definitely try it out. Super easy to try and very conservative bids, but we tend to see great results overall. So anything else to add for catch-all campaigns, Matt?
Yeah, probably not. If you're running manual catch-all campaigns, really, it's not too important what targets you put in it just because your bids are so low. So you can throw in, all suggested keywords and use that 5 to 10 cent standard bid. So manual catch-all campaigns it's pretty similar. You're keeping bids super low. You're still including every single product. The key thing is just averaging that really low CPC. So ACoS is phenomenal.
Yeah. So one other niche strategy we wanted to cover really quick too is seeding campaigns. So Matt, walk us through the basis of seeding campaigns. Why do you run them? What's the key objectives or goals from these campaigns?
Yeah, so seeding's it's a lot like catch-all in that we're using really low bids, and one of the primary purposes is just returning a really, really low healthy ACoS. The key difference is with a seeding campaign, it's a manual only campaign. You're not running an auto seeding campaign, wouldn't work. But what we're doing is we're picking single keyword targets predominantly with a phrase match type in our phrase match ad group. Since they're single keywords, broad or phrase match would work. Don't use exact. The key thing with a single keyword target is it's a breadth approach. It covers a massive breadth of search terms that people are typing into Amazon. In some cases, like we've targeted the word the keyword the, and it's returned thousands in sales at a sub 10%. It's like a 6% ACoS in one of our campaigns where that was one of the targets populated. And what's happening there is Amazon's using its relevancy algos to screen out the mass amount of keywords that wouldn't be relevant to that ad. And then it's really only serving as impressions for those that are relevant. And with really low bids, we're casting a super wide net and getting tons of exposure for those really simple keywords. Now, I'm not saying go and target the, of, she, he, whatever, these super basic, irrelevant keywords. The best single keyword targets are those that are related to the product, whether they're an attribute like color or size or what have you, or just some very closely related keyword to the product. They're just a great way to cast a super wide net and get a lot of exposure you otherwise want.
And Matt, how do you pick the products to include into seeding, and how do you break these out, like in comparison to like catch-all campaigns too?
So we've run a ton of different experiments with this, and normally we're running a similar approach to our catch-all where we're mass consolidating products together, but we'd be a little bit more selective with our seeding campaigns at times where it's, the top advertised products perhaps, and we're picking more we're picking more products that they're more likely to convert, more likely to do well in this style of campaign. And ideally, maybe having some interrelated aspects too, just because with those single keyword phrase match targets or broad match targets, you can discover a ton of really solid long tail keywords to move down the funnel and target in your other campaigns. So seeding campaign, you're still keeping those really low bids, you're averaging really low CPCs, but it's just a good way to discover longer tail targets relevant to your products that you can leverage in your other campaigns at more traditional bids.
Yeah. In general, I'd say you definitely want to group similar products together, just so then when you get these search terms that come out of these very broad keywords, that we can now utilize them if we find some nuggets in there that we didn't realize that, hey, this is another great way that people are searching and finding our products. So just to recap, for seeding campaigns, it's kind of like catch-all, but in general, we're getting more specific on grouping the products together. And then we're using we typically use phrase match, but you can use broad and single keywords. So single word keywords that we implement in these manual campaigns with low bids. And what this allows Amazon to do is really utilize its relevancy algorithms to show your ad for any term that it determines may be relevant. Note that your conversion rate is going to be lower for these because we're going a lot broader, but what's offsetting that is the lower cost per click that you're getting. And this is another way that we're able to kind of find these niche search terms that other people aren't even targeting and get them at a very low cost per click. And then we can potentially utilize those search terms, incorporate it into our traditional campaign funnel structure if we find any ones that tend to convert really well. So these are all like catch-all and seeding, the kind of niche strategies you can use to get some of those really low cost per click searches that you may not have got just from your traditional campaign funnel structure. And that used along with like conquesting strategies and then just a solid campaign funnel can really help you to build your sales and expand your reach to different potential customers on Amazon. So Matt, before we wrap up this one, I guess any other things that you want to add for these strategies to really expand sales?
No, I guess I would add, conquesting is quite a bit different from catch-all and seeding in that you're going to be using much more competitive bids, and it could be a high volume driver in terms of click, spend, sales. Catch-all and seeding are more niche strategies that use really low bids. So don't expect high volume. Don't expect a ton of sales coming out of them, but they're really good tools to generate some sales at a really healthy low ACoS, a profitable ACoS, while also helping you discover viable targets to target more aggressively in your other campaigns.